The tragic incident involving Romeca Meeks has shocked Chicago's South Loop and sparked widespread discussions about the growing concerns over gun violence in the community. Romeca, a 31-year-old mother, was simply doing what so many parents do every day, dropping her child off at school. This mundane act of love and routine turned into an unthinkable tragedy, leaving her family, friends, and the community devastated. It was a typical Monday morning on September 8, 2025, when Romeca Meeks drove her son to school. In the bustling South Loop neighborhood, a place known for its vibrant community and busy streets, no one could have anticipated that this ordinary drop-off would take such a fatal turn. Romeca, like many mothers, dropped off her child, making sure he was safe and ready for school. However, that morning would be different from any other she had experienced. Soon after dropping her son off, Romeca crossed paths with the father of her child and another woman, the mother of his other child. What started as a chance meeting quickly escalated into a heated confrontation. The tension between the two women was palpable as they exchanged words, perhaps fueled by unresolved issues. Arguments like these are all too common in complex relationships, but unfortunately, this one ended in a way that nobody could have imagined. According to reports, the argument between the two women quickly turned physical. Fists flew, and emotions ran high. But the situation took a devastating turn when the other woman, in a fit of rage, pulled out a gun. In broad daylight, with people going about their usual routines, she fired into Romeca's face. The shots rang out in the South Loop, a busy area where pedestrians walk along the street and cars rush by. In the chaos that followed, Romeca collapsed onto the street, blood pooling around her. Witnesses and passers-by were horrified by what they had just seen. Police and emergency responders arrived swiftly, and Romeca was rushed to Stroger Hospital in a desperate attempt to save her life. However, despite the best efforts of medical professionals, the damage was too severe. Romeca was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital, leaving behind not only a community in shock but a young child who would now grow up without his mother. As the news spread, questions began to arise. How could an argument between two women, an argument likely driven by personal emotions, end in such violence? How did a school drop-off, an everyday routine, turn into a brutal murder scene? And, more importantly, why does gun violence seem to be the first response in moments of conflict? The Chicago Police Department has launched an investigation into the shooting, urging anyone with information to come forward. The person responsible for pulling the trigger has yet to be apprehended, though authorities have promised to bring justice to Romeca and her family. The murder has shaken the community, and there is a growing outcry for action against gun violence. Romeca's murder is tragically not an isolated incident. Chicago, like many major cities across the United States, has faced a persistent problem with gun violence. Every year, lives are lost to senseless acts of aggression, and families are torn apart. Whether it's disputes between partners, fights over small misunderstandings, or violent responses to personal conflicts, gun violence seems to be the ultimate resolution for too many people. In Romeca's case, what started as a heated exchange between two women ended in a horrific act of violence. The question that many are asking now is, why does violence escalate to this level? Why are guns so easily accessible? And why do so many people choose to use them to settle their differences? The consequences of such violence are far-reaching. Families are torn apart, children lose parents, and entire communities are left to pick up the pieces. In Romeca's case, her son will now grow up without his mother. He will carry the emotional scars of that day with him for the rest of his life. But the larger question remains, how many more children will grow up motherless or fatherless because of a world where anger and rage are met with the most lethal of responses? The murder of Romeca Meeks highlights the deep-rooted issues of gun violence, emotional volatility, and the breakdown of conflict resolution mechanisms within communities. The community where Romeca lived and worked is left to mourn the loss of a mother, a daughter, and a friend. The ripple effect of her death has left a gaping hole in the lives of those who knew and loved her. There's also a larger societal issue at play. Why do we continue to see instances like this, where anger leads to irreversible decisions? How do we address the culture of violence that pervades certain communities? These questions have long been debated, but Romeca's death has brought them into sharper focus. Many have called for greater gun control in the wake of such senseless acts of violence. Advocates for stricter gun laws argue that limiting access to firearms, especially in situations of emotional turmoil, could prevent tragedies like this one from happening. While there are many factors that contribute to gun violence, such as mental health issues, economic inequality, and lack of community support, the easy access to weapons plays a central role. Gun control is often a controversial topic, but for many, the answer seems clear. If we want to reduce the number of senseless deaths like Romeca's, we need to reassess how firearms are regulated and how we deal with emotional and interpersonal conflict. Moving forward, healing and prevention. In the days following Romeca's death, the community has rallied around her family, offering condolences, support, and solidarity. But while this support is invaluable, it doesn't bring Romeca back. It doesn't erase the pain her family is feeling. What it does do, however, is serve as a reminder that something must change. The focus now should not only be on seeking justice for Romeca but also on finding solutions to the broader problem of gun violence. We must look at how we can prevent such tragedies from happening again, whether through education, policy reform, or changes in how we address interpersonal conflicts. Romeca's life was taken far too soon, and her story is one of heartbreak and senseless violence. But it is also a call to action, a call to address the root causes of gun violence and to work together to create a safer, more compassionate world.